Good afternoon, everybody. All right. I'll just give everybody a minute here. I have the new mica stains, the Distress Halloween ones from Tim Holtz. Hello, Sarah. And hello, whoever popped in. So I'm just going to shake these while we're waiting for people to pop in. I didn't use them in the card today, but I thought we could swatch them out a little bit because that's always fun and just see the colors. Hello, Jennifer. So we're going to do some fun stuff with this torn aperture embossing folder. This has been so popular. Hello, Marlo. Hello, Sarah Dahlman. And it's been sold out everywhere, and then Sandy managed to get some in, and she said some more are on the way as well. So I'm excited to work with that. It was really easy to kind of get the image or the middle cut out of that. And I'm just shaking these mica stains up a little bit to get the mica off the bottom, and then I thought we would just swatch them out after. So that's what's going on in the background. Hey, Heather. Awesome. Hope everybody is doing well. If you're in Calgary, it is a super hot day today. It is, I don't know what it is out right now, but it's supposed to get up to 34, so that's going to be pretty hot. That's pretty hot for us here. And it's been warm all week, but I think tomorrow it cools down and we're getting some rain, so that's good because everything is just really dry. All right. So let's have a look at what we're playing with. These pearlescent paints from Spellbinders sold out really quickly, so Sandy has gotten some more of these in. We used these last week, I think. The week's kind of all blur. I'm pretty sure we used these last week with our Spellbinders card, and they were really fun to use. Really great price point. There's also a watercolor set that's not the pearl ones in the shop as well at a really amazing price. Hello, Vivian from Guatemala. How is it in Guatemala today? So that is back, and I thought we would do a little bit of painting so you can kind of see in the center you've got that pearlized look because we added pearl watercolors into the center. We're going to use the interference inks from Lisa Horton to blend with, and these are amazing. We've done a few lives with them using them, and Lisa's really put a lot of work into figuring out the shimmer, the color that's on the left. It's beautiful. That's awesome. The color is on the left. That is on the left shown is going to be what comes out on your white cardstock. And I will grab a piece of black because you just have to kind of see how it reacts on dark. The color that you see on the right hand side is going to be how it shows up on dark cardstock. So it's a very cool technique or a very cool product. And we even did a little bit of water because there's some pigment or some dye ink in there which reacts to water, so you can see the splatters on the background, which I thought was fun. Hello, Tamara. So we're going to use that. I did notice that Sandy just posted she's getting some more of the interference inks in. So there are 12 currently, and then I think there's 12 more coming, and they're gorgeous colors. So yeah, we'll definitely be playing with those a lot. Here is the torn aperture embossing folder, and it comes with a little die. So I'm going to show you how that works. Super easy. And then we've got a stamp set from Pink Fresh Studio. This one is Butterfly Garden. It actually, the the set, it doesn't come in a set, but you can buy a complimentary coordinating stencil that matches with that, so you can do the stenciling, and there's also a die that you can get to go with it. We're just using the stamp today. It's got a couple sentiments in there, and we've got some Nouveau drops. So let's get started by using the embossing folder first and kind of showing you how that works. So we'll just move these out of the way. So what is everyone up to today? Working, staying cool? What is going on? I have a piece of Vicki Boutin Foundations paper just because it's nice and thick, and I wanted to use a thick piece in my embossing folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be too worried about getting it exactly, but I'm just using this to line up. And I've done it both ways, where I embossed first and then die cut, or I die cut and then embossed. And that looks pretty close to me. If I mean, you don't have to have this opening exactly, is what I'm kind of trying to say, because it's just a torn opening. There's not a specific right side up. So that looks to me about right where my paper is in the folder, and I'm gonna line it up anyways, but I just wanted to make sure that it's not too far. And I have like a million pieces of yellow tape, and then here's one. So I'm just going to put this down. There's probably different ways to do this, and I know there are some videos online, but we're going to try it this way. So I'm just going to run this through my die cut machine first, but I will kind of show you the other way that I did it as well. Sarah's traveling, that's fun. How are the paints different than Vicki's metallic watercolors? I'd say pretty similar. They're different colors, and you get, that's your color palette. But it's a pearlescent paint, and I think, yeah, very similar. I think it would come down to the colors that, you know, if you like certain colors. Okay, so we have, keeping in mind that I think I need to clean my plate off, because I see that I've got some marks on there, and I think I had something stamped that wasn't quite dry and ran it through. So it's not going to matter a whole lot, but we'll just see if it erases, and then I'll have to clean my plate after. We're going to ink blend on top of this, so yeah, it's coming right off, but I'll have to give my plates a scrub. And then we've got our little piece here. We're going to save this because we're going to stamp on it. Again, I'm just going to clean off whatever was on that. Okay. So we can keep our little die and set it aside. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up. You can kind of easily see where it lines up in this hole, and that looks good to me. I'm going to just hold it closed and run it through. You could put a little piece of tape if you wanted to. If you have the universal plate system from Spellbinders, I have the Platinum 6 and the universal plates. They do look pretty, hey? Hello, Cynthia, how are you doing? So I just put this inside. This is the platform base A, and then the adapter plate, the same as if you were using your Spellbinders embossing folders. I'm just making sure this doesn't shift when I'm laying it down because I didn't tape it, because we're just gonna, you know, live on the wild side, and I'm gonna run that through my embossing, or run that through my die cut machine. All right, here it is. Look at this. Hey Rosie, how are you? So you can see the amazing dimension. When you look at the folder, you can tell what side is up because it has the indented areas. So of course that raises your paper up. So that would be the back of it, and that's the front, making it look like you've got torn edges that are flipped over, which I think is so super cool. So we've got our embossed image, and the other thing that I did, the other way that I did it, which I think worked as well, is I put my paper in and I embossed it first, and then, so we'd have, pretend this isn't cut, then we'd have our cardstock. Then I lined this up and put it through. But then I also went back and re-embossed it just to make sure that it didn't flatten out when die cutting. So you could do it that way too, but I think this saves you a step, and it was really easy to line up. And Rosie has just linked the torn aperture folder, and I know if it does sell out, Sandy said there's more on the way. So you can either email her and ask her to hold one for you if it shows sold out in the store, or you can just watch for it to come in. There's probably a remind me button on it. So we've got our embossed background, and we're just going to put that aside for a minute. So in the meantime, because we're going to do some ink blending after, but we're also going to do a little bit of watercoloring, and that watercoloring can dry in the meantime. So we'll do that first. So I think that you could stamp this on a full panel, or how I had done it the first time is I put in my piece into the stamp wheel, and then I lined this up, and then I took my stamp. So this again is the Pink Fresh Butterfly Garden. Hello Debbie, how are you doing? And I'm going to just line this up so I can stamp. So I decided to do it this way, but you could just have a panel and then you could fit it behind your aperture. It up to you. So we can just wherever we want our kind of pretty scene. I've had it down here when I did it the last time, but you know, if we wanted to have it like that, I think I'm still going to keep it here, but I'm going to have this butterfly in. So we're going to do it like this. Then we're going to put on the cover of our stamp wheel, and these stamp wheels are fabulous for stamping. I can take this off. The grippy, kind of a little sticky part keeps your paper held down. It's also really great if you want to do some stenciling and inking on it. I can pull that up. Then nothing's going to get on my background. And that's kind of how it's going to look. You're heading into the dead zone. All right, Sarah, have fun traveling. Thank you for stopping in. So we are going to ink this up with Pink Fresh Detail Black. So this one is great because it works with Copics, it works with watercolors. You could also use, because this is water-based, we could also use the Altenew, what is it here? Altenew Obsidian. I felt like this might take a little bit longer to dry on the Vicki Boutin paper because there is that little bit of a vellum finish. So that's why I grabbed the Pink Fresh ink. I just felt like it would dry a little faster, but you could use either one or any kind of waterproof ink. And you could also just zap it with the heat gun, which we might do anyways because we're gonna start painting fairly soon. And I think that's okay. I'm just going to give it one more because I like stamping more than once when I have black ink. Okay. So we'll pull that off. We can go ahead and pull off our panel that we're going to watercolor. And then we can just use some, I've got a baby wipe and I've got some archival ink cleaner, which seems to clean this really nicely. So the archival ink cleaner as well is really great if you have the Better Press to clean up the ink, the archival ink. But I find it works for any kind of ink just to make sure you've got things wiped up. Because I like to just, I don't need my stuff to be pristine. I just don't want it to start coming off if I'm stamping something else. And then I will actually give that a wipe with a cloth and some water just so there's no residue on there, but it is okay for now. All right, so we can set this aside and then we can do our watercoloring. And Rosie has a couple more links there to the products that we're using, so you can check those out when you have a minute. Hello, Joanne. All right, so we've got our pretty little panel. This is going to color up really nice and quick. Let's zoom in a bit. You can get the stencils and the dies to go with this. It's a really nice panel. We have made a card as well in one of our lives that just used the whole background, I'm pretty sure. So we've got these pearlescent watercolors. These are like $12.50 or something, like a ridiculously cheap price. I'm just wetting a few of the colors. I'm just deciding here. So a few of the colors that I feel like are fall colors because I'm going for a little bit of a fall vibe. And I find just adding a little bit of water helps soften them up, and then you don't have to wait very long, and then you can use them. I've got a water bowl, and then I have a paintbrush somewhere. There we go. You could use a water brush as well. I'm just using this for ease today. I have a paper towel just so that I can wipe off my brush as well. And let me just get my iPad on again so that I can just see if there's any comments when I'm sitting down. All right. So to paint with this, it's super easy, and you just have a wet brush. You've got a little bit of water in here, and then you just mix it around. If you don't have a lot of water, then it's going to be darker and thicker. And if you have a little bit of extra water, then it'll be a little more translucent. So you can really control how dark everything is going to be. And let's just move that back a little bit. So I've just got some of this pearly green on here. I think this would be really nice to work with on an embossed image, because you know how if you have embossing, the watercolor just really stays in. I chose the Vicky Bouton paper because it is a little thicker and it's a bit of a mixed media paper, and it doesn't really get affected if you put extra water and stuff on it. So you could use watercolor as well, or you can even just use regular or a little bit thicker cardstock. I would just, just be careful you don't get too much water on it. And also I'm going for kind of a loose look here, so I'm really not too concerned even if it goes a little bit out of the lines. Now, because this paper is a little thicker and it has that vellum coating on there, I find that it does take a little bit longer to dry. So you just have to kind of be careful that you're not smudging your, moving your finger and smudging the paint that you already put on there. It is such a great value. It is just really fun to work with, and I find that my kids always want to use my paints and pens and stuff, and so I think because this is such a great value, you really don't have to worry, and they can have fun playing with it too. This would be fun too to put in like a little set if you were doing a teacher gift or even like a Christmas gift, which we're not thinking about Christmas gifts yet. However, I always kind of look for those things where you could stick in maybe some, the paint, the watercolor or the pearl paints, and you could stick in some pre-stamped panels would be so nice, or like a little watercolor booklet and give as a gift to someone. That looks really nice, but is cost effective. I got a little tiny bit of orange on there, but that's okay. So I'm just going in with a little bit different green and I'm coloring this. You can really take as much or as little time as you want, and there's not much here, so it does color up pretty quickly. And just color in those leaves. You can also mix the colors up if you wanted to mix some of the colors. So say I wanted this green and I wanted to add a little bit of, I don't know, white, or if I wanted to add a little bit of brown, say. I'm going to rinse off my brush so that I'm not contaminating my paint, but then I can bring it over here and I can mix it together. And you can probably get a better idea if this was on white. But if I put it here, then we've got a darker green. So similar if you wanted to mix like some of the reds or oranges just to make some different colors, but there's really quite a wide range of color. And these are water-based and they clean up really nice and easy. So then we'll do our butterfly. I like to bring a little bit of blue in when I'm doing some fall stuff, so we'll grab a little bit of this. And you can kind of see that water has soaked into the paint, so you might need to add a little bit more water on the top, but you don't have to worry about oversaturating it because it will just dry up. So I'm going to do this little butterfly blue. And the other one, maybe we could do like even a little bit of this purple or this purple. It is still kind of a fall color. Maybe, I don't want to go crazy here. Maybe we'll do this one. This is more of a fall color. So I'm trying to stay in that fall color palette. We're going to ink ink that background with some fall colors, or what I'm combining to make some fall colors. And actually, maybe we'll bring a little bit of this over here. We'll put, if you have too much water too, you can just dab it off. We'll put a little bit on this little bud. So depending on, this could be a spring card or summer card. If you wanted to change up your colors that you're inking the background, as well as your colors of paint that you're putting on. And I just realized I missed a little piece of that stem, so we'll fill that in. And then we'll just put maybe a little bit of this gold on. So this, I didn't really have any water on here, so that's why I'm adding a little bit extra water just to kind of soften that up. So if I want it really light, because I'm putting it on this little flower that I just feel like needs to be a little bit lighter, I can put it on my mat and then just add a little extra water just to water it down a bit. And then we'll add a little bit to these flowers as well. And we could even come in with a little bit of this. Now, because this red is wet, it's going to mix in with it. So if you had two colors that you didn't want to mix, you would want to make sure that they were dry, but I kind of wanted them to mix. So that is pretty much it for painting. We can dry this with the heat gun, or we can just set it aside. So here's a look at that, and as it dries, you'll be able to see that shimmer. So it looks really pretty. I think that looks kind of like a fall scene. We will put that aside for a few minutes, and we can always bring in our heat gun if we need. And then let's grab our panel, and we're going to ink blend. So the ones I have here are Sweet Treats Shimmer, so it's yellow and pink on dark cardstock, or the Pumpkin Spice Shimmer, which is orange and purple, and Royal Truffle, which is brown and then a blue on black cardstock. And then we've got Sapphire Gold. I'm not going to use this one today, but it's blue, and then this kind of golden color on black cardstock. And just seeing if I did make some swatches, but I'm not sure where I have them currently, so that's okay, because I'm just going to pull out a piece of black cardstock just to give you a little preview of how they would look. So I cut a piece of this. I just ran a thin piece of cardstock through the embossing folder, and then I just cut around it. It didn't have to be perfect. And then I can use this as a mask. So I have just some repositionable tape, and I already had some on, but I'm just going to add a little bit more on. And then I can just line it up, and this is going to be my mask. Okay. And there might be a couple areas that are not perfect, but that's okay. We're going to come in and do a little bit with a Copic marker. And I just need it on there enough just to kind of hold it still. I also find that these blend really nicely on the vellum paper. If you're doing them on cardstock, you just might need a little bit extra ink And as soon as you go over them with the inks and the inks blend together, then they do blend. I just found that this was super easy. And Rosie has just linked the interference inks there. I'm just deciding if I want a piece of paper underneath so I don't have so much to clean up. So we'll just do this. So we'll start with the Royal Truffle Shimmer. I noticed that this is back in stock. It had been sold out. So just to give you an idea of how it looks on black, and as it dries, it gets darker. So we'll keep an eye on this as it dries, but you can see that beautiful purple shimmer. So that's on dark, and then on the light cardstock, you're going to get the brown color that's on the left. So we will blend those. Hi, Julie, how are you doing? Okay. So I just have a blending foam on there. You could use a blending brush, and I would say, just wipe off your brush at the end of blending. So I'm going over just with an first kind of light coat, and as you add more ink, you can see that the inks just really move around really nicely. And especially when we add the next color on, they just seem to blend beautifully. Amy and I went to Chapters, not yesterday, but the day before, and they have all their fall stuff out. So Amy is 16, and she loves books and reading and fall and tea. She's so funny. Anyway, we went to Chapters, and they had all their like fall mugs, and we didn't end up buying anything, but we did take pictures of all the fall mugs, and they had some really cute Halloween stuff. And I feel like it was just really getting me in the mood for fall, because I do love summer, but it is getting towards the end of August, and I know fall is coming, and fall is my favorite. So okay, so we can always come back and add a little bit more if we need to. Now we'll go to the next one. Just want to make sure, yeah. So this one is the Pumpkin Spice Shimmer. So on black, we'll just add the ink, and you can see that Royal Truffle is starting to dry, and it really gives this beautiful shimmery effect. This one's fairly juicy, so we're just going to let that dry for a bit. And so as I'm bringing it over that already inked area, it's just blending with the brown. And if I want, I can just hold this little center of my mask, and then I'm not getting inky either. So we'll keep adding that on. We went school supply shopping yesterday, or not school supply shopping, we had school clothing shopping. Amy's been doing some babysitting this summer, so she actually bought her own clothes. Very impressed, and she was very responsible with what she was buying and wanted to make sure it was good value. Okay, so that's our orange, which I love. And then we will add in the yellow from the Sweet Treat Shimmer. Awesome names. On Facebook, on one of the Facebook posts, Sandy had posted the new colors that are coming, and they look amazing as well. You can see what a vibrant, beautiful yellow this is too. It's so pretty. All the colors are beautiful. And then as I add the ink and they blend, you can really see that it just blends together. And then we're going to add a little bit of water, which is a really cool effect. And as they dry too, you can see more of that shimmer. And I'm just going to add one more little bit of this, the brown. Yeah, I think I need to get a little bit darker. So you can come back and add a little more if you feel like you needed to. And it's almost like it reactivates the ink and lets you blend a little bit more. All right. I think that's good. Love these inks. So we can take off our mask. We can save that and use it again. And this is going to dry. It reminds me of candy corn, even though it's not exactly. Yeah, the color, the orange is very vibrant. It's fall. Oh, we forgot to do the yellow on here just to show you. Let's do that now. Make sure this was, yeah. So here's the yellow, and you can see that pink coming through. So you can use these on any color cardstock. You're just going to get a variation in color depending on how dark or light the cardstock is. And then just to give you a look at the blue, which is sapphire gold. It's like a kind of a greeny yellow. Very pretty with the turquoise undertones. So, isn't that pretty? And we did some Christmas cards with the Lisa Horton tree embossing folder and stencil duo a little while ago. And we used, I think we used these two in there. And then just to give you an idea of how this one is, it's just a beautiful blue. So if I was to keep adding more ink, it would just keep blending out. But it's so pretty. And then the shimmer that it has on it is amazing. I've worked with lots of inks before that, tried to get the shimmer in the ink, and it always seemed to dry up, or you always had to add more re-inkers. And these, I think it's just a really great formulation. Oops. Okay, so we've got our background. You can see it's still a little bit wet because that Vicki Boutin paper is really nice for adding your wet stuff too. You do have to give it a little bit extra time to dry, but we're going to add a squirt of water on it. So maybe I can do it here so you can see. We've got some water spots, and you'll be able to see that kind of bleach out the background, which is a really cool effect. So let's just get this wiped up to make sure we don't have anything else here. And we'll probably have to dry that a little bit. This looks pretty dry. There's a couple little spots, so I'm just going to run the heat gun over this very quickly. This is actually a pretty quick card to do. Okay, and then we can dry this a bit. I love those water spots. So if you just let it dry naturally, you'll get a little bit different look than you would with a heat gun, but they're both great. And if while it's wet, you actually pressed on with a paper towel, then it would lift up the color from those spots. So I love that. Hey, Lindsay, how are you doing? Okay, we're going to stamp on a sentiment. So let's move this. And you get hello or hope your day is beautiful. So I thought we would just use the hope your day is beautiful. And I'm going to see, I did this one separately because I thought I was going to stamp the hope your day is separately, but I ended up stamping them both in the same color. So I think we could probably layer them on at the same time. I guess we'll find out. I added these little enamel dots to my stamp wheel just so I can easily know which is the top and how to layer it on, especially when you take it off and ink it, and then it is kind of a no-brainer when you put it back on. Then we are going to use the Royal Truffle Shimmer. It is a tongue twister. I'm going to move this so I can lay it down flat. And we'll ink this up a couple times just because I like to have it really nice and dark. I feel like I've been making so many Christmas cards that it was nice to make a fall card. I am also excited about Halloween. I usually don't do a lot of crafting for Halloween, but I love seeing Halloween stuff. So I do have like a little banner, Halloween banner and stuff that I put up at Halloween, and I'm going to try and make a few extra cards because those are always fun. You know what, we'll put that back after. Let's take this off. Now we're going to do the little shadow around the outside. So I have an N0 marker. It's just a light gray. And I'm going to put this ink cover on before I stick my finger in it. I'm just making sure. I think I overfilled this at one time and it was leaking out a bit. So hopefully I've used all the leaked out spots. Hello, Donna. You're in Missoula, Lindsay. That's exciting. Oh, you just got it, Lorraine? Yeah, like so many things you could put behind this, right? Use it with so many things. So all I did was go around the edge. This is just a very light, it's N0. You could use a C0 or any kind of light color. And I'm literally just pulling my marker around the edge. I don't think you have to do this, but I feel like it was nice to create that little bit of a shadow. A brown you could do too. And I guess I could have done some watercolor, but I just felt like this was easy and quick. And if a little bit gets on where you've inked, it just looks like a shadow. So that was very easy. Then we've got our background. So I cut another piece of paper just to fit on the back. I think I might have to cut it a little bit smaller because I felt I wanted to put this behind, but I felt like if I didn't have anything else behind it, you would see the black and it wouldn't be as, that effect like you had torn something open and you can see behind it. So I think you could either stamp a bigger panel, but stamping the small panel just allowed me to only bother painting in what I needed, or you can do it this way. So doing it this way, what I'm going to do is grab a piece of my best ever craft tape, and I had an old tape dispenser which I just kind of pulled apart, and then I put the Spellbinders craft tape in it, and I love using this like that. So I'm just positioning it, then I'm going to tape it over top, and then what I can do is add my glue. I'm just adding glue to this part. And then I can go ahead and lay this right over top and press it down. I guess actually I want to keep it kind of on there until I glue the back on. So then I'm putting my glue on that larger piece of paper. It was just a scrap of the Vicki Boutin cardstock, the foundations paper, and then I'm going to line this up. So I could have cut my tape on there, but it's fine. I'm going to line this up where I want it. Now I can take it off. So this is taped down. Nobody's going to see that part in the back, but when you have this popped up, you're not going to notice that there's black right underneath. Then we can use this is my Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L tape, and it is a huge roll that you get, so you can see I'm kind of working my way through it. And I do like using my non-stick scissors to cut. I like this tape because the backing comes off of it so nicely and it's really nice and sticky. Thanks, Lorraine. So get this on, then we can place it on our background. I can think of lots of ways that I'm going to use this. It has been so popular, and this embossing folder, but there are more coming in if it says that it's sold out. All right, and then I can eyeball it, and if it's a little bit off, it's okay too, because we've got that white behind it and you're not going to see, it's not going to look drastic, but I think that's pretty close. That's cool, hey? Then I just grabbed these. So these butterflies, now I know this is sold out right now, and Sandy said she might be getting more in if they come in. She wasn't sure, but if you have them, it's the Better Press butterflies, or you could just stamp some more of these butterflies from the Pink Fresh Butterfly Garden, or you probably have a million stamps or dies or something, or stickers of butterflies. So I just grabbed some that we had colored. I don't even know what I colored these with. We did a bunch with the Lavinia one day, and then anyway, I just have them in like a bowl. So I just grabbed them out. But there's lots of beautiful better press coming as well. I'm just trying to decide which way I like these butterflies. I kind of think I like that one up here. We'll take a little bit more foam tape. So I do like having, if I have some stamps or some sentiments, and just keeping a bunch that I had pre-done in a bowl. And then if I have a whole bunch of backgrounds or something, I can just grab some things and make a quick card, and I have everything, all the little elements pre-done. So even though we might not have these, I thought it would be a fun way to kind of show you how to use them, or just random things on your desk. So then I have my sequins, and I find when I have sequins, when I first have them, I keep them in the little bags, and then they eventually go into like these little bead containers from the dollar store, and I just empty them in, and then I just mix and match them. So I think that these are probably either Pink Fresh, or they could be Studio Cadia. But there's some big ones and some small ones. And I know Pink Fresh has some that are similar, and they're the ombre ones, which are also really nice. So when I'm putting on the gems or sequins on, I try to lay them down first to decide, and I usually put them on in kind of like a triangle configuration. Just going to pull a few out here and see what I get. And I think we'll just put those. You could put a few up there, I guess, too, but I felt like it didn't need a whole lot. It has this shimmery background, and I will hold that up in the light for you in a minute. This is the Studio Cadia embellishment wand. I believe we still have them in the shop, and they are really great. So they've just got a little bit of a wax tip, and I find too, like if you have something that's a little bit bigger or it's hard to pick up, you can just warm that wax with your finger, and there are replacement wax tips. And then you've got a little pokey thing on the other side if you need to move anything around. Then I also, hello Sherry, I also brought in a little bit of the Nouveau Crystal drops. There's lots of different colors of these. The glitter drops have glitter, so I've got the glitter drops here. This one is White Blizzard, which is my favorite. This one here is Dandelion Yellow, but the crystal are more looking like enamel dots when they dry. So I just wanted to add a few little dots of embellishments. The Dream drops are always really nice as well. I like the glitter drops because you can see through them. They're translucent, but you get this really pretty glitter. So, and you can make the dots really small. I'll hold this up in a second. I could actually do this to the butterflies as well, but I do this at the end because I don't want, I do not want them to smudge. Okay, and then we'll do a couple of the little yellow dots. Like we're making tiny dots here, so easy. All right, so here's our card. If we hold that The light, can you see that shimmer, almost that undertone of the purpley color there? So really pretty shimmer, the water droplets, then our flowers underneath, and we've got our sentiment, thanks. And it just looks so cool because of that background kind of looking like it's torn open. You could go really grungy with this to have, you know, that torn open look. I think it could definitely be a really cool masculine card. Would be really, really neat. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to play around with that. And then before I go, thanks guys, I just wanted to quickly show you these mica stains. So these are the new Halloween mica stains. I do have another Lisa Horton thing to just show you that just came in. Actually, I think Sandy just put it in the shop. So before we look at the mica stains, the Christmas wreath is in, and zoom out a little bit. Hello, Judy. So the Christmas wreath is an embossing folder, and you can also get the layering stencils. You get, look at all the layers that you get, amazing. And then you can do each one in inks or pastes or whatever. And each stencil is numbered, so you just follow the numbers. We used the Forest embossing folder a few weeks ago, so if you're kind of looking to see how those work, definitely check that out. I just sent my samples to Creative Scrapbooker for their winter magazine, so I don't have them here to show you, but you'll be able to see them if you look back on the video page. So we did the winter forest stencils, and there's a few different ones in the shop. There was a sleigh. I don't know if it's still in there. Anyway, this looks amazing. I think I'll be doing, oh, this even comes with a die. That is so gorgeous. Look how beautiful that is. I think that would even be nice as like a home decor thing. So you've got your emboss, you stencil it, then you emboss it to give it the dimension, and you can also die cut it. So you can use them separately or together. So that's just in the shop. And let's grab these. So these are the mica stains. These are number 5 and number 6. So we've got Fallen Acorn, Unraveled, and Mulled Cider. And then we have Phantom Mist, Ominous Twilight, and Specimen. So even though these are kind of categorized as Halloween, you will definitely be able to use these throughout the year. So think like Christmas. Look at this red and green for Christmas. Beautiful. I think they will have more Christmas ones coming out too. You've got Unraveled, which looks lovely. Fallen Acorn, which looks like a little bit of a brown. These all have mica in them, so they're going to be glittery and shimmery. These would totally work even for spring. So I love mixing and matching these. But of course, if you like Halloween, then these are definitely going to work for Halloween. If this is my little shoebox spray box, I thought we would just spray these and give a quick kind of swatching to see how they look. When you do have them, you want to shake them up so you don't have that mica that's sitting on the bottom. And you can paint with these and do watercolors. Okay, let's spray this. That's quite dark. This one is Specimen. We are going to add a little bit of water as well. And then after I use anything that's not just, so if it's like oxide spray or mica spray, I either wipe it off or, yeah, don't do that. That's going crazy. Don't do that. It's just going to make a mess. Get a get a wipe or a cloth. I think I had a whole bunch of extra, which is okay. I mean, I don't want it to stick on the end. I just don't need to have that much mess in my water. Okay, so just wipe it off. I'm surprised at how dark that is. Like, to me, that looks really dark brown. And I haven't swatched these out, so you guys are like the first to see. I'm going to grab just a piece of regular cardstock and I'm going to layer it on just to see, okay, there's the green kind of coming out. That is cool though. I think that would be a really nice fall green. I can see, and maybe I didn't have the mica mixed up as well as I should either. So I think I might even spray that again after mixing it really well. This is the Ominous Twilight, or we'll look at it once it's dry. It definitely looks like it has some brown tones in that green, but that's why you should swatch your stuff out so that you know what color it's going to be. And then I usually just throw these in a little bucket and I don't keep them sitting up really. They're laying on their side. There's definitely lots of pigment in them. Okay, this is what we'll do. We're just going to wipe it. And it's going to look different too if you have it on regular cardstock, or what do I have here? This is just white, a little bit heavier cardstock. Let's spray it on there. So that almost dries and soaks in immediately, whereas this is Vicki Boutin paper, and like I said, it stays wet a little bit longer. And then I just always get in the habit of just wiping it off, and then I don't have any problems with it clogging. So this versus this, which you're going to have to leave that to dry. Or you can use, you can push your extra cardstock on top and get a neat effect, but just depending on what you want to do with it. If you want it, what you spray on here, it's just going to be stuck. You can move this stuff around a bit. And as this other green has kind of dried, you can see more. It is like a mossy green color. So this, what I'm going to do is just grab a piece of paper so we can check both Vicki Boutin papers as well as regular cardstock. Because I want to use both, because I think I use both in my crafting and I want to be able to know how it's going to react. This one is Fallen Acorn. I think this is going to be really nice. So that's the Vicki Boutin paper, and this is just regular cardstock. This has a little bit more sediment, so we're just going to keep mixing it until we don't see any, and I'm just like going back and forth. And we could probably do two at once. Once you hear that mixing ball, then it's going to mix up pretty quickly. or you can get your kids to mix them. That would be a good job for your kids. Just ask them to mix them for you. Tim did a whole live on the mica stains, and that's on his YouTube channel. So if you feel like you want more information on that. Oh, I love this brown. And you wouldn't have to put water on this, but you can see how it moves around. I'm letting that dry without water just for informational purposes. So then I would just let that dry. Hello, Monica. And that's going to be the cardstock, regular cardstock. So set that over here. And then we'll do the mulled cider. That sounds so nice. Okay, they're drying really nicely. I'll bring them back up once I finish swatching them. So is anybody popping into Scrapaganza, which is happening in Calgary next month, or are you cropping with us? There are still shopping passes available. And I think there's still just a very few amount of crop seats. Okay, that is beautiful. It's a very orangey red. And then this one is unraveled. I already know I'm going to like this because it is like a neutral kind of color. I think this you could use any time of the year. Oh, look, I love it. It's like this beautiful shimmery gold color. That is so pretty. And then the last one is, I don't know what I did with my last foundations paper. I guess I will cut another one. I'm sure it's stuck to something. All right, Phantom Mist. But once you let them dry, that's when you can kind of think about what you'd use them for. And I love just having backgrounds that are done, and then I can grab them. You could, spray your background and then cut it with that torn aperture folder. Would be beautiful. Okay, look how pretty this one is too. And I guess what I could have done instead of like spraying that on there is I could have just taken my extra piece, and this is just the regular cardstock, and laid it on, and you can get that effect on both. So really, there's lots of different ways that you can swatch them. Okay, so let's bring these back and we'll have a look at them. That green is beautiful. I think that maybe I didn't have it quite mixed up, but it is gorgeous. And then the brown is really beautiful. Let's move these over. And I don't think you can go wrong with mica sprays. Some of these are still wet. And the ones that are on just your thinner cardstock are obviously going to dry a little quicker. Look at that blue, it's so pretty. So very nice. You can go ahead and stencil over these after they're dry. So pretty. Hello, Irene. We just swatched out our Tim Holtz mica sprays. So I'll let those dry. Could heat dry them, but I think you can also just let them dry. You can play around with layering them. But those are all the colors, and that's 5 and 6. There are a couple more packages in the shop. If you look under mica stain, that's what they're under. So that is it today. Our card that we made and swatching the stains, and then that new Christmas wreath and the torn aperture folder. So lots of fun. Oh, and the pearlescent paints are back in the shop. I don't think there's anything other than the challenge is still on in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group until the end of August. So make sure to get your color palette project uploaded so you have a chance to win. So that's in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group. Just have a look in the album, challenge album. All the details are there. If you want to grab your shopping pass or book a crop seat at the Scrap Shotz Scrapaganza, that is in the Scrap Shotz store. There's lots in the August new category and the website. And I also have 8 new layouts on the Scrap Shotz blog using that trail mix collection. So if you have that, definitely have a look. I've got a video, an edited process video, and that's on the blog, and there's 8 different layouts. So that was fun. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thanks everybody for hanging out and spending your time with me, and I hope you have an awesome week and a really crafty weekend, and I will see you again next week. So I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.